Thank you for joining us today. My name is Caroline Williams, Director of Communications for USA Basketball. Before we get started, I want to make sure to thank Pat McKenna and his staff for helping set all this up. Without him, we wouldn't be able to get this all together today, as well as for his assists throughout the years. Today, once we hear from everybody here at the table, we'll open up to questions from members of the media in attendance, followed by some limited one-on-ones as necessary. So, to start everything off, I'd like to first introduce to you USA Basketball Chairman, Mr. Jerry Colangelo.
Thank you, Carolyn. Good afternoon, and it's great to be here. It's my first visit on this campus, and it's pretty darn impressive. And it's an exciting day, I think, for the university because one of its own is being recognized again, and one who has done an incredible job during his career, not only here at the university, but his time with USA Basketball. And some of these statistics are kind of overwhelming. He's been involved with USA Basketball since 1993. He's compiled a 47-8 record as head coach, 3 gold medals and 1 bronze. We'll talk about that bronze. He's one of college basketball's most respected coaches. He's won 839 games in 28 seasons, 8 NCAA national championships, 4 undefeated seasons, 8 consecutive 30-win seasons. And after leading the women's team to the gold in the 2012 Olympics, he was 35-4. And the 2013 national championship. That's not a bad year. I had a chance to see him in action, and I had great respect for Gino beforehand, and it was nothing but more so after I saw him accomplish the things that he did in his style, and I appreciated that very, very much. You know, the competition on the women's game, although people might want to take issue with this, is that parity is becoming more and more a reality. And in a quiet way, there are other countries that are coming up the pole that are going to be very, very competitive. Since I took over USA Basketball in 2005, continuity was an important thing to me. And changing a culture was an important thing to do, so that people would really aspire to represent their country. And we were able to accomplish that in a very short period of time, starting in 2005. We won the gold in 2008 in Beijing, the World Championships in 2010 in Istanbul, the Olympic gold in London in 2012. But we've had continuity. We have a structure. We have a program. And our coaching staff has been very, very solid. Coach K has done a tremendous job, and he is a major part of our USA program. And I feel the same way about Gino. Gino has paid his dues in more ways than one. He is the kind of guy you want in that foxhole with you in our quest to maintain our position. We had a long way to go to get back on top with the men's program. We did that, but we did it by showing respect. And when you show respect, you earn respect. The women's dominance in basketball has been unbelievable. And so there's a little bit of pressure in trying to maintain that dominance. And so you need a kind of a personality who's ready for that kind of a fight. And I think Gino represents that. And then most of all, more than anything, we were looking for an Italian coach. And there was a short list that I thought qualified, and I thought, since Gino and I like to have our pasta together, we'll continue to do that as we go forward. No, it's an honor for me to make the announcement that Gino will be our coach going forward for the Olympics in 2016. Gino?
Thank Thank you, Mr. Colangelo. Next up, we'll hear from WNBA Chief of Basketball Operations and Player Relations, Renee Brown, who's also a member of the USA National Team Player Selection Committee and Steering Committee, and she's been involved with USA Basketball since back as she was one of the assistant coaches for the 1995-96 Women's National Team.
Thank you, Caroline. And again, welcome everyone. And it is a great day for USA Basketball. And for the WNBA and the steering committee, we are so happy that Gino agreed to coach our team again. Like Caroline mentioned, I was a part of the 95-96 national team. And what it takes is hard work, dedication, a love for the game. Gino possesses all of that. But one of his greatest points for me is that he is a wonderful, wonderful, great teacher of the game. That's why our team did as well as they did and beat teams the way that we were able to beat other countries. When I look back on the 20-year history of USA Basketball, we're getting ready to, and we will win, our 6th gold medal. And when Gino coached the 2012 team, he really separated USA Basketball from the other countries, even though we know we have to worry about the other countries. But to you, Gino, we really appreciate you saying yes to this. And without a doubt, we have all the confidence in the world in you. So again, congratulations, and I wish you well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. And next we have USA Basketball Women's National Team Director and Chair of the USA National Team Steering Committee, Carol Callan.
Thanks, Caroline. Congratulations, Gino. We're obviously thrilled to have you back with us again. Personally, Kathy, your family, it's a great group to work with. All of the staff here, we really appreciate. Ward, thank you for sharing, Gino. I know it's not easy, but he makes it work very, very well. So we really do appreciate the cooperation that we have. I think it's been said, and I don't think on the women's side you can ever underestimate the value of continuity. We have a 5-time Olympian in women's basketball, Therese Edwards. There's no other 5-time Olympian in women's basketball. We have a 4-time Olympian. We have several 3-time Olympians that we hope will become 4-time Olympians. And the continuity and the experience is oh so important when the rest of the world is trying to beat you. And we felt on the steering committee that continuity at the head coach made perfect sense, and we are thrilled that he's accepted to do that. When Renee and I actually first started together, we're actually rather old, with that 95-96 team. We had an entire year to train. We played 52 games in preparation for the Olympics. And it might look like we sailed through it, but it's never as easy as it looks. We now stand here today, however many years later, and we're talking about our training camps moving forward. And it's sort of a good news, bad news situation. The good news is players can play year-round and earn a living at playing basketball. The bad news is they have no time off. And so we find ourselves with the challenge of finding some training periods, and we're down to a bare minimum, and continuity of the coach and of the players is absolutely critical. So for that, we're again grateful. Just to give you a little bit of idea what the next 3 years will look like, by virtue of winning the gold medal in London, we have automatically qualified for the next World Championship, which will be in Istanbul, Turkey, in September, early October of 2014. Should we win that, and of course we anticipate doing that, we will automatically qualify for the Olympics in Rio de Janeiro. But if not, there is a qualification system in place where we would have to, in 2015, qualify through the FIBA Americas Championship or possibly through an Olympic qualification tournament. And then the Olympics in Rio will be in August of 2016, of course, in Rio de Janeiro. So that's the future. We do plan to hold a training camp here shortly for approximately 3 days and start out on our new quest to identify the next group moving forward that will represent us in those events. So without further comment, Caroline,
Thank you, Carol.
back to you.
And now that you all have heard why USA Basketball has selected Gino to return. I'd like to ask Gino to let you all know why he accepted and has decided to do this for 4 more years.
First, thank you, Jerry. I think you mentioned something about the pressure of remaining undefeated, and the best women's basketball program in the world is USA Women's Basketball. And the pressure to maintain that is intense. And every time Jerry's on the phone with you or he's around you and you're having dinner with him, the pressure intensifies. Because he lets you know exactly what the expectation level is and why we do what we do. And I learned in the last 4 years that we were together that you have so much respect for what you do and what you've done and how you've done it, that I would be less than honest if I didn't say that living up to your expectations is one of the main reasons why we are as good as we are. He sets the bar very, very high, and we all try to reach that level. The same goes with Carol and what she's meant to me personally and professionally all these years, and to my family, Renee, the same thing, Jim, Caroline. There's a long list of people associated with USA Basketball that I've gotten to know in the last 20-some years that I've been associated with them. And to put it as succinctly as possible, I didn't really need to win another gold medal to solidify my reputation as being able to coach basketball. I didn't feel like I have to go to Rio de Janeiro to win another gold medal to prove anything to myself. I initially said at the beginning when it was over that it's not fair to answer the question, do you want to do it again, with a yes if I'm asked, because I think that's being presumptuous. So my answer was always no. It's not my turn anymore. It's someone else's turn. You know, I did what I was asked to do and what I wanted to do, and I did it as well as I thought I could do it. But what happened since last August when we won, and a few weeks ago, you know, all that time I just kind of held to my convictions that I was not going to do it again, because I just didn't think it was, first of all, I was never asked, so I didn't want to presume anything, and second of all, I really did think USA Basketball on the women's side has never done that, so why should I presume that I would be the first one to do that? However, just to give you an idea how USA Basketball works, the day that we're at the White House, July 31st, I believe it was, so as we're getting ready, we're going to meet the president and we're going to, you know, be in the presence of what the United States really stands for. The phone rings and it's Carol and Jim saying, you know, we're calling because we want you to be the next Olympic coach, and here's why. And the whole time I'm just sitting there going, this can't be an accident. You know, this was planned, that while you're there in Washington, D.C., you're being asked to represent your country again. And they'll tell you, I said, I just need some time to think about it and make sure it's the right thing for my family and for me, and it's the right thing for USA Basketball. And the more I thought about it and the more time passed, it became pretty apparent to me and to my family that, yeah, this was the right thing to do. That when people have this much confidence in you, when people ask you to do something that's not easy to do, and they have a lot of admiration for the way you've done it in the past, that means a lot. And it means a lot that people that you have a lot of respect for think enough of you to want you to do this. And obviously, representing your country is something that you don't take lightly, and it's something that every person in America wishes they could do. And here I am getting an opportunity to do it again, and all I can do is just say thank you to USA Basketball and to Ward and President Herbst and everybody at the University of Connecticut and my assistants. It's hard to put into words what it all means and how you feel at the end, but it's another journey, it's another beginning. I'm glad Jerry said that it's a short list of great Italian coaches, not we were looking for the shortest Italian coach. But I'm glad I'm on that short list, and I'm incredibly honored to be asked to do this again. And now it's my job to go around and ask all those players that won the gold medal in London if they'll come along on this ride and help me look good again. That's my spiel. Go ahead, Caroline.
If you guys have questions, please raise your hand and then wait for the mic.
Hey, Gino, Doug Feinberg, AP, congratulations.
Thank you.
4 years ago when you got this job, it was a different situation because you had never really coached internationally and coached, you were an assistant for the Olympic program, but hadn't been the head coach. Mm-hmm. How much is it going to help you going forward to Rio that you've done this once now and you kind of know what to expect and you have a better understanding of what it takes to win a gold medal for the Olympics and for the World Championships potentially next year?
Well, the one thing that I learned being in both in Sydney with the Olympic team in 2000 and coaching some 19 and under, 18 and under, whatever we were at that time internationally, is that you have a short period of time to get a lot of things done. And what I learned the last 4 years is that because we have the best players, and again, as Jerry said, we treat everybody with respect. So I don't mean any disrespect to any of the other teams around the world that are great teams, but in my mind, I believe we have the best players here in this country. And I think we have the best organization in the world in this country. So knowing that, and knowing that we can do that in a short period of time, which is all we have, unfortunately, I was worried about that, and that took up a lot of my time and in my emotions, wondering, do we have enough time? Do we have enough time? Am I going to be able to implement what I want in such a short period of time? I think this second time going around, I know I can. I know we can accomplish a lot in a short period of time. And maybe because of that, Carol has shortened the training period this year from 14 days that we had last year in the fall to we get 3 now. So I don't know that I'm that good, but I admire the fact that they think we're good enough that we don't need a lot of days to prepare, because that's the biggest hurdle that we have, is how many days do we have to prepare relative to everybody else in the world. And that's a big load off my shoulders, knowing that we can do that. And the amount of respect that I gained for all the players that play professional basketball in the WNBA and overseas, and how much I enjoyed coaching them. And now that I know them and they know me, I think and plus we're looking forward to some of the new players coming in. I'm going to be a different person coaching this team, and our team is going to be a different team. You know, things change, and I've changed, and I'm sure they have too.
John Altavilla from the Hartford Current. Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you.
Mr. Colangelo and Carol, how do you prevail upon someone who seems so convinced that he didn't want this job? How did you manage? What did you say? What did you offer? What did you? I mean, how did you get him to change his mind ultimately? Even when he made that phone call, what do you think had to be done to get him to come over to your side?
Okay.
There are a lot of things running through my mind. I don't know if I should be funny or serious, because ultimately I think the key is that Gino this will sound corny, is a great American, simply put. He has a passion for women's basketball. He understands the difficulty of winning. And again, I can't emphasize that enough, because I think our players and our coaches make it look easy, and it really isn't. It's that close. But ultimately, when you ask somebody to do something that is important as winning gold medals, maybe it's not fair, but they have to really assess it. I'd like to think that we help make it enjoyable along the way. I hope we've helped him so that he hasn't, maybe the fact that he won an 8th national championship coming off of the Olympics shows that he can do quite a few things well at the same time. But I go back. I think it's because he's a great American. I think he wears his heart on his sleeve and his flag on the other sleeve. And I think that's a big piece of it. And I think there were a lot of people that were calling him, asking him to do it, that he respects aside from us. I know several people in the NBA and, some leaders in our country that stepped up and also talked to him. So I think that's the biggest key, though.
I want to add something, because it's always good to tell the truth and how things really happen. Back in when Gino was picked the first time, the same structure existed. There was a committee, but I didn't wait for the committee. I said, Gino's going to be our coach. That's who I believe should coach the team, because he's the best candidate. And then the committee kind of looked at it, everyone agreed, and he was named coach. Without any question, the committee looked at it this time and said he's the best candidate. And that's why he's in the position he is again. He's earned that. And, most of the time in life, people are successful because they can relate to one another. It's about relationships. And when you have relationships with people, you can communicate and get right down to it pretty easy. So it's not a matter of selling someone necessarily, it's just talking with someone. Is that fair to say, Gino?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say. But I met a couple people along the way during the summer, and at the end of the summer, when it was apparent that I'd been asked to do it and that there was some nudges and some things coming my way of people pushing me, a couple U.S. leaders, as Carol said, at one point came to me and said, I see that Jerry and his crew are in the process of rolling you like they did Coach K. So that's when I thought, it's pretty hard to say no when those things are presented to you, because when you sit there by yourself, you think, well, if I do it, I do it. If I don't, I don't. Somebody else will do it. It'll still get done. And you kind of, resign yourself to that and say, that's good. But then when it's put right in front of you on the table and you have to really, really evaluate it, it's a difficult thing to pass on, because, again, for me, it always comes back to, as Jerry said, the relationship that I have with USA Basketball is so strong that when it was presented to me, I just felt compelled to say yes.
John Holt, WFSB TV. Gino, congratulations.
Thanks.
The pressure to remain dominant that Jerry alludes to, boy, that's really a lofty statement, to not only win but remain dominant. How does that pressure compare to the expectation to remain dominant at the collegiate level coming off a national title? Are they similar at all, or is one packed with more pressure?
I think the pressure to win at UConn obviously is great, because that's my job. That's what I signed on for, and that's what people in Connecticut expect me to do, and I think we've done it pretty well. When you take the pressure of the United States and the national team, that's a whole different type of pressure. I don't want to say it's greater or it's less, it's more. I just think it's a different kind of pressure. You're dealing with players that you don't know very well. You're not there for 5 months every day putting your team together. We just throw a bunch of things in a pot and hope that we can mix it properly, and we want the finished product to look great, and there's a lot of pressure to make it look great, and that's a little bit harder, and in the end, the whole world is watching. We're the only ones who know, really, how hard the World Championships are to win. I think if you ask anybody up here, Jim, anybody associated with USA Basketball, you say, how hard is it to win the World Championship in women's basketball? And they'll tell you it's one of the hardest things there is to do in the world. But nobody really is paying attention in the United States. But the rest of the world, that's a huge thing. And in the Olympics, because it says Olympics, that gets all the attention. So for us, the pressure of having to win starts way before we get to the Olympics. It's right there, right from the beginning, but it's on a global stage as opposed to a national or regional stage.
Dino, Carl Adamek, Journal-Inquirer in Manchester. Two-part question, if you don't mind. First, have you reached out to any members of the 2012 team, in particular the 6 that played here at Connecticut? Second question is, during the lead up to 2012, you talked about how much your staff here at UConn was helpful to you to let you do what you did. What was their feeling when you approached them about you might do this again?
Well, the second part of the question about how did my staff feel, you know how women, when they say, well, if you want to do it, that's fine with me. So when they said, Coach, it's fine with us if you want to do it. So right away I knew I had to go in a different direction and get approval from other people. Because in their mind, it's, they work hard as it is. And they know that if I were to take on this venture, it would mean a lot for them as well that they were going to have to do. And I know that they're excited about it, and I know that they want to be a part of it. I just don't know how much of a part they can be this time around. They were a huge part of it beforehand, and I think this coming time, I think we'll structure it a little bit differently, but they'll still be involved, obviously, because they mean so much to me and to my success. The players, Carol and particularly, and Renee have done some contacting already of the Olympians that played in London. So far, the only ones that have been on the fence are the 6 that played for me at Connecticut. The rest seem to be on board. But the thing that's made the women's program at USA Basketball so great is that there's a continuity factor and there's a tremendous loyalty by the players. So I would say by the end of this coming week, we'll have a commitment from pretty much everybody that's been involved in the past. And more importantly, I think we have to start identifying who the young players are that are going to be the key players in the 2020 Olympics, which is part of my job, I think, as well. Not only win the gold medal in 2016, but also prepare the program to be a gold medal winning team in 2020 as that transition happens from these veterans that have been so great for so long to the next group of young players.
Well, here's one thing I want to add. I should have said earlier. In 2005, USA Basketball was kind of teetering after the Olympics in 2004 in Athens. And it wasn't kind of an in thing to represent your country. I mean, you had to pull people across the line just to participate. So the culture that was changed accomplished a lot of things, and so it's become like an in thing again. People want to represent their country, men and women. And so today, as we sit here, we are #1 in the world in every category. Men and women, 16, 17, 18, 19, senior teams. We are #1. Now, we don't take that lightly. We're proud of what we've accomplished, but that's yesterday. You know, our goal and objective is to keep the pipeline full, to keep people's interest where it should be, to recognize how significant the opportunity is. There's no entitlement here. This is a real opportunity to represent your country and enhance really your own persona, if you will, by representing the USA. So we take it all very seriously. When Coach K finished in 2012 in London, he announced he was done. He wasn't going to coach anymore. And 2 weeks later, I was here in Springfield for the Hall of Fame induction weekend, and he wanted to visit. 2 weeks later, and he was having withdrawal symptoms already. 2 weeks later. And he said he concluded that he was as much a part of USA basketball as he was Duke. Competitive people are willing to take challenges that many people wouldn't, even with the risk as great as it might be. And I think Gino's just like him, you know, in that sense. Yeah, there's some things to gain. There's some things to lose. And it's easy if you're not a competitor to say, I'll pass. But that's not an option for a real competitor.
Hi, Kevin Nathan, NBC Connecticut. Gino, first, congratulations. Could you elaborate on who from the NBA and which U.S. leaders reached out to you, and without getting maybe too detailed, but just give us some sense of kind of what the pitch was?
That's all classified information. The one thing that Jerry alludes to, that at least on the men's side, from what I recall back in the day when I was young, and only college players played on the U.S. Olympic team, certainly on the men's side, there was this incredible feeling of someday I want to play on the Olympic team. And it was college kids against pros. And I remember growing up with that. And I remember watching Doug Collins make those 2 free throws in 1972, and then the game ending the way it ended, and the heartbreak that all brought along. And I know when D. Rowe was the assistant coach with the Olympic team, and they didn't get to go because of the boycott. Then something happened, and it kind of went away. And I think Jerry alluded to in 2005, they started putting the whole thing back together again. On the women's side, I think after 1992, when they won the bronze instead of the gold in Barcelona, I think from that point on, there was a tremendous effort to galvanize the UConn women, or the USA women's basketball program. And from that time on, there's a tremendous bond because now they're pros. So between the WNBA, between USA basketball, these people that play from the time they're 16, and then all the people that are involved from, you know, the NBA, the WNBA, USA basketball, and members of different organizations all over the country have all taken tremendous pride in what we do. And if you had been in Washington, D.C. last year when we left to go to London, the men and the women, and how we handled that whole thing and how we were treated by the Wounded Warriors and what we did with the U.S. military, you start to get a sense of how many people are touched by all this. And when it's time, they all kind of circle the wagons and say, this is what we need you to do, and this is why we need you to do it. And you just kind of get swept up in it. And I did.
One final question.
Gino, while USA Basketball was making their mental notes about your job, I'm sure you were making your own about how things went and, you know, what you liked about it and what you didn't like about the last 4 years. Was part of your decision to come back, I mean, did you talk to Carol and Mr. Colangelo about things you wanted that maybe you didn't have last time, more say in certain things, or more say on your assistants or logistics, or whatever you consider important to yourself?
Yeah, I remember calling Jerry and saying, I want this, this, and this, and this, and he didn't return my phone call. So I don't think I'm going to get any of the things I asked for. The one great thing about USA Basketball is you don't ask for anything. It's not the kind of place you go to ask for things. USA Basketball is a place where you go to do things for them and for the United States and for the basketball players that play and the people that work behind the scenes to make it all work. So I didn't ask for anything. I didn't say anything. When Carol and Jim were on the phone with me, I never said, all right, I'll do it if I get this, 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 and this. That never even entered my mind. The assistants are going to be whoever they are. That's not here or there. If Carol told me tomorrow, here's who's going to be your assistants, I would probably say I'm fine with that. If she said this is when we're training, I would say I'm fine with that. This is when we're flying here, I'm fine with that. I'm pretty good with just whatever you guys want to do. That's what I want to do. When I asked for the same amount of money the players are getting for winning gold medal, they said, no, you're not getting that either. So that's the last question I asked.
I think it's incumbent upon us, and I think we've done this, is to put our programs in a position where they're not wanting for anything, that everything is done on a first-class basis. We're going to do it the right way, and there's a trust respectfully both ways that that's what's going to happen. So we're kind of all in it together. It's not they and we and, it's none of that. So we're in a position, thankfully, that we've gotten great support from corporate sponsors. We've done quite well in the last two Olympiad 8 years, and it's getting bigger and better all the time. We're moving to a new campus in Tempe, Arizona. It will be open in 2015, and we're very, very excited about that. So there's a lot of good things happening.
And it used to be, I'm sorry, I'll just finish up by saying, I think it used to be, again, back in the day, I remember it, where there was a certain separation there between the men's program and the women's program. I think that there was always this, and I know it was probably most acutely evident in Barcelona, with the first dream team and how much they just overwhelmed, everything that was over there. You could have been, you could have won 9 gold medals as a swimmer. Nobody would have known if you didn't look like, Karl Malone or Charles Barkley. So they overwhelmed, the women. I think since 2005, and even maybe a little bit before that, maybe not as much, I think there's been this thing that it's USA Basketball, and we have this kind of unity in our mission, and there isn't going to be anything, as Jerry said, that we're going to be lacking. I don't have to go to Carol and say, Carol, can I have this? She's already provided it for us. I don't have to call Renee or Jerry or Jim and say, by the way, how come I don't have this? It's already done. It's already there. All I have to do is just show up and coach the team.
All right, thank you very much. This concludes the formal portion of the press conference. If you bear with us just a moment, we've got something for Gino, and then we'll have a very brief time for some Q&As or for some one-offs before we have to go for a teleconference at 2 o'clock. Thank you.
A teleconference at 2 o'clock.
Here we go.
We're going to put you right up to maybe 3:15.
Oh, come on.
Walk in wearing this.
3:14. Oh, I like that. That's great.
Okay.
Beautiful.
That's nice. All right, here you go.
They just get better and better these uniforms, don't they?
Hold that up a bit.
I know.
The moral of the story would be never say never.
Sneak up there?